Morning, girls. How are you? I hope you are all doing well. So, as I've said before, I'm going to send you on a daily basis an explanation for the lessons that we have to cover. Now, I can send you a ready-made video or a PowerPoint, but I thought it's easier if I explain it by myself. Please, at the end of the video, tell me if you understood, if you found it beneficial, if you're okay with this way of explaining, and in case you still have any question or if there is something you didn't understand, please don't hesitate to ask me. Okay? So for today, I'm going to start only with one example. Okay, just to make sure you're fine with this way of explaining. As I've said, we're going to cover chapter 7, so we're starting with lesson 1. And the first example of this lesson, if you check your books, it's called prime factorization. So prime factorization, it's something we do for a number. Let's say, for example, number 20. So prime factorization means to break down this number into prime factors. Okay? Now, you're going to ask, what is prime? What is this word? What does it mean? So first, let's define what is a prime number first, and then we'll go back to this example. I will write it here as a note that I already wrote that a prime number is a number that has only two divisors, one and itself. One and itself. For example, if I took number 7, okay, 7, how can you write 7? Or what times that will give me 7? It's only one way. It's 1 times 7. So it has two divisors, right? Two divisors. So it is a prime number. If it has more than two divisors, so it's not a prime number. For example, if I took number 10, 10 you can write it as 1 times 10, or you can write it 2 times 5. So how many divisors you have? You have 4 divisors. You have 4 divisors. So it's not prime. Let's take another number. Let's say 12. 12, you can write it 1 times 12, or 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. These are 6 divisors. 6 divisors, so it's not prime. Not prime. So basically, you should know the first few prime numbers. You have to memorize them in order to be able to solve in a fast way. For example, the first prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and so on. There are many, but basically we're going to use these. Okay, so these are the prime numbers. A prime number is a number that has only two divisors, okay? Which means you cannot break it anymore. So how can I use this here? Let's go back to our lesson. I need to break down 20 into smaller numbers. Now there are many ways to do that. The easier way is to do is the factor tree. Factor tree, it means I'm going to make a tree. Tree of factors, basically. For example, 20. How can you write 20? 20, I can write it as 2 times 10. Now, 2. How can I write 2? How can I break it more? Can I break it more? No. Because 2 is a prime number. It's one of the prime numbers. So I cannot break it anymore. So I'll stop here. You put a circle around it. Now I'll go to 10. Can you break it more? Yes, it's 2 times 5. Now 2, can you break it more? Can you make it with smaller pieces or smaller factors? No. So it's a prime, you put a circle. 5, here, can you break it more? No, that's it. So 20, here, 20, you write it as 2 times 2 times 5. 2 times 2 times 5. Okay? You have to make sure that these numbers are prime. You cannot break them anymore. And as we know that 2 and 5 are prime numbers, so we're done here. Now you might ask, what if I want to start with a different way? Instead of 2 times 10, I want to write it as 4 times 5. Okay, let's try this way. 4, can you break it more? Yes, it's 2 times 2. 2, can you break it more? No, I put a circle. This one, can you break it more? No. What about 5? Also no. So you write 20 as 2 times 2 times 5. 2 times 2 times 5. And basically, sorry, they are the same. So you can start with any way you want. It will end up with the same answer. You just have to know that you have to write it in a more appropriate way. Here, for example, you have 2 times 2, so it means 2 to the power of 2 times 5. And here it's also the same. Okay, so just make sure if you have, like, if it's repeated 2 times, you put power 2. If it's repeated 3 times, you put power 3, and so on. This is the prime factorization of a number. You might ask, can I flip them? Of course you can. Let's try another example just to make sure you understand. We'll take a harder number, for example, 60. 60, I can start by 6 times 10, and then 6 is 2 times 3. These are prime, I stop here. 10 is 2 times 5, also prime, you stop here. So 60 is 2 times 3 times 2 times 5, so it is 2 power 2 times 3 times 5, and that's it. Now you might ask, can I stop, for example, here? Like, can I write 60 equals 6 times 10 and then I'll stop? You can't, because this is not called prime factorization. Prime factorization means that all the numbers here, all the factors should be prime. And 6 or 10 are not prime numbers. They are not among these numbers. And that's it. That's example 1. Let's do a homework. I'll write it down on Edmodo. And please, as I said, don't hesitate in case you still have any question or you didn't understand. So maybe I'll find another way to explain it for you.